Hello, welcome to my channel. I want to talk to you about something that's really important is that I want us to look at, because if you're tuning in because you have anxiety or have panic attacks, because I have spent a lot of time talking about anxiety and panic attacks on my channel. You can go back and find all these, usually the tips and tools and techniques for stuff is usually dealing with anxiety. What I want you to understand is you are not your diagnosis or your pathology. What's going on is you possess a nervous system, and that nervous system, when you're dealing with anxiety, is dysregulated. So instead of thinking about I have to take medicine and something's wrong with me, like all the things when you get labeled something, when you get a label, when you get a pathology, when there's medications you can take, it's really easy to think you are that, but you're not. You have a nervous system. Everybody has a nervous system. But there's some of us who have had some sort of trauma, and for some reason, we have a hard time regulating our nervous system. And part of it is because the way society is. Society, we learn most of our things. We learn what it means to be a man or a woman by society. Most of the stuff, what it's saying or what's not saying, is what society tells us. It has nothing to do with actual reality. It's random. I took sociology classes and we were talking about gender, and when you go through things like, for instance, pink used to be a male thing, high heels used to be a male thing, there's all these things that used to be male things but now we think are female things. So these things are made up. What it means to be masculine, what it means to be feminine is made up. What it means to be healthy and unhealthy or regulated and dysregulated are not made up. Those are real. Those are real things. If you are having anxiety in a situation where there is no danger, dysregulation. And we all have a nervous system. We started with that. We all have a nervous system. Unless you have some disease that literally controls your nerves, that's a whole different story. So, for instance, like MS and I'm not sure if Parkinson's is a nerve thing too. But when I've worked with people who've had Parkinson's, their nervous system seems to be off. Not that I'm saying that if you learn to regulate your nervous system, you won't get Parkinson's or MS, but I'm just saying those are two that are actually a disease that affects your nerves. So therefore, your nervous system is thrown off. But for most of us, we are not broken nervous systems. We don't have a disease of the nervous system. We just have never been taught. We have never been socialized into regulating our nervous system, because guess what? Regulating our nervous system would bring down so many industries. Regulating our nervous system, we'd be much less likely to be obese. No, you didn't think that was going to come out. Regulating our nervous system, we'd be more or less likely to be a country that has mass shootings, that has the violence we have, because other countries don't have that. Not saying they all have regulated nervous systems, but they have systems in place where it's much easier to regulate your nervous systems. Having culture wars, having one side say this, one side say that, these people don't deserve this or that, is dysregulating to our nervous system. Because if you know or you love somebody who is in this week's chosen group of people that aren't okay, it's dysregulating to your nervous system. There's nothing wrong with you. You have a dysregulated nervous system. That's it. People who are violent and aggressive, there could be some actual disorders, possibly, and it could be a dysregulated nervous system. Not to say free everybody, but what we need to do is work with ourselves, learn how to regulate our nervous system, so that way when we are with other people, we can help co-regulate. They can be, the good thing about being with other humans is you can help other people regulate. And so, for instance, my experience as a yoga instructor and as a personal trainer and as a hypnotherapist and as NLP and coaching and Reiki and all this stuff is it matters what my energy is like. So when I'm teaching like this on a video, I am much faster, and I've mentioned this before. When you take my yoga class, I am, especially when we're focusing on the breath or we're focusing on what is our body telling us, my voice completely changes. Also, when I do meditations and hypnosis, I have a totally different affect and a different voice completely. And so when I'm looking at the seconds clicking off, I'm trying to make my video shorter because I have some people who like my videos but don't like it to go past a certain amount of time, and I should just get my facts out and chat away afterwards. But anyways, with our nervous system, what we can do to regulate, and what I've noticed as a yoga instructor, is work with the breath. I've done breath videos before. So for instance, if you are focusing, like if you're tired, so if your nervous system is hypo-aroused, hypo means isn't hyper, but if you're hyper-aroused, what you're going to do with your breath will be completely different. So when one is hypo-aroused, when you're like, I just need a cup of coffee. See, if someone gave me a cup of coffee, I would be off the rails. That's because my system naturally is set a little bit, I'm tweaked a little higher, and I tend to be a little bit more sensitive. So I tend to be I'm strung, a little more high strung is what they say. And the reason is because it helps me as a teacher and a professional and someone who helps other people, because I've tried everything. So, that means I'm able to help people like, this doesn't work. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. That's a lot of what I do when I work with, no matter if I'm working as a personal trainer, anything one-on-one, I'm trying anything and everything because not everybody is the same. So, but generally breath work can help people calm their nervous system. So if you're on hypoarousal and you're tired and you want some coffee, you can do big inhales and no held breath and a short exhale. That will help perk you up. So that interestingly works with back bends. So the same thing, because I live in a state that we get, once it starts getting autumn and heads towards winter, we get a lot of rain. So there's sometimes we don't see the sun for 3 weeks at a time. So what I tell my students is, because some of it can bring you down, is one of the things that I have them say, if we have those days, we want to work on back bends. So back bending helps you break out of that. But when you go into a back bend, you can take big inhales of breath. But it's really hard because those muscles that help you exhale, are turned off because they're stretching, they're opening, they're getting their time to relax. So if you want to wake yourself up, some back bending works. Of course, do a few things to warm yourself up first, but wake yourself up, back bending works. If you are too hyper-aroused, then you want to do a long, slow exhale, maybe a held. So that 4, 7, 8 breath works, because the inhale's on the 4, a hold on the 7, which starts to tell your nervous system, like, I'm not taking any more inhales, so we're calming down, bud. And then that slow exhale, that helps you. So when you do forward bends, which are a way to calm your nervous system, quiet your nervous system, to regulate your nervous system, you do long exhales. Because if you're in that folded position, say you're doing a seated forward fold, you're folded, that area where you would expand to take in your air is not really able to take in as much air because you're folded over, right? So you do those long exhales. So it's good for releasing tension, releasing stress, helping, again, regulate the nervous system. The same with twists. Twists are really good, usually more supine, meaning on your back, rather than seated up, because then you have to focus on a lot of other things. But a twist, the inhales, if you're in a good twist, your inhale is going to be minimal because you're now twisted. The areas that you'd be breathing out of, that you would take an inhale, are again in a smaller position, just like being forward folded. So when you focus on twist, there's really big focus on your exhale. So that alone, yoga can help regulate your nervous system. And the really cool thing is yoga also has these things where you do, like, for instance, a cat and a cow pose. That's on all fours, rounding and arching. So the rounding, the cat part, is a forward bend. And the cow part is a back bend. So normally if you take a good class, most teachers will start out with opposition. Forward bend, back, and lightly, because the back bend doesn't have to be, wheel or, craziness. You don't have to be completely, tucked up into your rear end with your head to do a back bend. There's slightly opening back bends. Just this would be considered a back bend. Just lifting and opening, because you're opening your chest, you're opening the front of your body. So the thing is, sometimes the best way to regulate our nervous system is to go back and forth between a forward bend and a backward bend. And when I normally teach, I don't do Ujjayi breath with my classes. If I'm working with someone who's more advanced, I will do Ujjayi breath, because most of my classes now are kind of more tuning into our bodies versus doing hardcore asanas where we're, doing a flow in your hot yoga or, intense yoga. It's more of tuning in because, again, I'm working with people's nervous systems. So it's a lot easier and really getting people in touch with their bodies. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can regulate our nervous system. The breath is the easiest way. And I honestly have to say, the things that bother us most in life, like, for instance, addictions. We can try to control our addictions, or we can regulate our nervous system. Because when our nervous system is regulated, we are more likely to make better choices because we have clearer heads. Because if we have an easy, calm breath, reverse a little bit. When I said that I don't do a certain kind of breathing in yoga, I do 4-4 breaths. So the breath is even. So inhale 4, exhale 4, and to your own extent on the poses. How long 4 counts is for you might be different than how long, because we're not doing it to a beat. But really, honestly, when we're thinking about regulating our nervous system, and I will do more videos on this, it really is finding your own way. There are countless videos on it. And again, if you're somebody who's having any sort of issues, it can't hurt. And I think it is the way, regulating our nervous system is the way to have a healthier, happier society, and which is what we all should be striving for, I think, is the whole point of any of this. The whole point of our existence on this planet should be to help people, to help liberate people from the things that drag us down. And having a label and feeling like you're broken is an awful feeling. You're not broken. Even if you do have some disease, you're not broken. There is a way to have a full life no matter what's going on with your life. There's a way to have a beautiful experience. And again, one way is to regulate our nervous system. That's what they were trying to tell us back in the day when they were, control your thought, control your mind, all that stuff. This is just about regulating our nervous system. We can do this. And like I said, I'll be back with more videos on this, but some food for thought, and peace, love, namaste.